when we think of our Irish diaspora, I suppose we often have a mixed idea about what that means. As can be seen from all the contributions here in the House, there's no such thing as a typical Irish emigrant. I think all our families in Ireland, particularly in the west of Ireland, have been impacted in some way by emigration. And for better or for worse, oftentimes people are going to make a better life for themselves and are very happy in their new lives. But often, and the people, and as islanders, I suppose that it's kind of an accepted part of our culture that we will become, emigration is part of our culture, and people are happy. Some people are happily to leave, and that continues to be people. But I suppose that where people they contribute to their economic and cultural wealth of their host countries. Many of us here, we spoke about ourselves, I've worked abroad many times myself and have, benefited massively from it. But just for today, I suppose, as we're talking about the Irish diaspora, I think others haven't been so lucky. And so lucky and have become trapped, I suppose, by life, working harder than anyone else in the world just to stand still. Some of those people often dream about returning to Ireland, and we can see this is very, I suppose, rich and very evident in some of the poignant songs and poems and stories throughout Ireland, in our own culture, particularly songs like Christy Moore's Missing You, or I know the Pogues would have many references like Thousands Are Sailing to about emigration, and that people unfortunately aren't able to make it back. And many of, you don't want to call them forgotten Irish, but many people that couldn't make it back to their shores have had hard stories to tell, survivors of childhood abuse, mother and babies' homes, and often struggle maybe with addiction, which has impacted on their lives and on their families' lives. But I suppose we know we're in the middle of a housing disaster, and I just want to, I suppose, pay tribute to a very significant organisation, Safe Home Ireland, which is based in rural County Mayo, which helps to make the dreams of returning to Ireland come true for many of our fellow Irish men and women who otherwise would not have been able to make it home. It was established 25 years ago, and I suppose the west of Ireland and the northwest of Ireland has been so severely impacted by emigration, from both before the famine and from the famine and since, because of lack of, I suppose, investment in the region and a lack of consistently of unbalanced regional development. But Dr. Jerry Crowley was a rural GP in Mulranny in County Mayo, and he established Safe Home Ireland as an immigrant advice centre who offers housing assistance, information advice on matters such as banking, social welfare entitlements to older people aged over 57 years who are currently living in rented accommodation abroad and are seeking to return to Ireland after a lifetime abroad. When Safe Home was first founded, it catered chiefly for men who had been working in the building trade and found themselves falling on hard times, wanting to but unable to make their own way home. Through the years, this continued to many, and many people avail of this service. And I suppose I just want to kind of give tribute to the fact that this organisation is an approved housing body, but it's managed in different ways than a typical approved housing body. It does not manage any of the properties on its own. They work alongside other approved housing bodies and local authorities to find appropriate accommodation for their clients throughout the country. And this is very significant. All its clients apply to live here while they're living abroad. Through its early work, Safe Home successfully highlighted the plight of the people to such an extent that within a year it had achieved an amendment to the Capital Assistance Scheme, which meant for the first time those living abroad could be considered for inclusion on social housing application lists. Their first client made it back home in 2000. He was an elderly man. He had already been diagnosed with a terminal disease, and Safe Home made it possible for him to die at home, and he was at home just 6 months later. By the end of 2023, Safe Home had directly assisted 2,280 Irish-born older people to secure accommodation back in their areas of birth through offers of housing from approved housing bodies and local authorities. So I suppose while we do celebrate the diaspora and the cultural significance that our teanga, our culture, that we bring to the rest of the world, we can also say it's big time, I suppose, to consider some of those lives of the Irish people that aren't complete until they can find their own way home on this shore. It says, I suppose, in Elaine Tintown, Martin Town Fain. Or Margot.